VoiceAmerica.com.
Welcome to Crime Prevention 101 with host Susan Bartlestone. We're so happy you've joined us this weekend. Over the next hour, you'll learn the tips, tricks, and vital information that'll help you keep yourself confident and safe. Now, here's the host of Crime Prevention 101, Susan Bartlestone.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Crime Prevention 101, the personal safety radio show with the optimistic perspective on a sober subject. And as always, it is my great honor and privilege and pleasure to be here with you once again this Saturday and to spend the next hour with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Just a couple of little news flashes that I thought you might like to know about. I hope you've had a chance to check out my new website, SusanBartlestone.com. You can do all sorts of amazing things from that website. You can email shows to your friends. You can post them on Facebook and Twitter. You can bookmark them. Of course, you can contact me directly. And by the way, if you are on Twitter, please send out a tweet right now. Tell your friends you're listening to this amazing Crime Prevention 101 show so that they can join in and be with us today as well. Now, I have a very special program today. This is a topic that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I'm going to be talking about defense sprays, particularly pepper spray. And I have a long history with defense sprays, which I will tell you all about. But just to give you a little background, I mean, pepper spray and tear gas, those things have been around easily for 30 or more years now, but primarily used by law enforcement and emergency service personnel. And myself and many others really felt and started the movement to let people know that this is a viable personal protection option because they are inexpensive, they are easy to carry and conceal, and they are very simple to use. And I like them, I use them, I give them to my friends. I happen to be also a certified pepper spray instructor, and I know that when offered within the context of proper training and awareness, and then I'm talking about awareness of their merits and limitations, because they've got both, they make people feel safer, and they can be a real lifesaver. And my special guest today is David Nance, and he's from Security Equipment Corporation, which sells the Sabre brand of pepper spray, and this is a brand that I happen to like the best. And as David says on his website, he has been making grown men cry since 1975, and trust me, that is what they do when they are sprayed. And also coming up later on in the show, I've got some tips about how to use pepper spray most effectively, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce David Nance to you. As I said, he is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Security Equipment Corporation, SEC. And SEC is a family-run business. It was founded by his father in 1975, and now it's owned and operated by the second generation of Nances. And David joined in after he graduated from college in 1997. And they sell all sorts of personal defense sprays, stun guns, bear attack and dog attack deterrents. And they have law enforcement and corrections aerosol projectors, which I'm going to actually ask him to talk a little bit about. And he was the one that introduced the Sabre law enforcement line in 1997. And in 1998, the Sabre Law Enforcement Training Division, which we'll talk a little bit about. And he is currently involved in launching the Sabre Civilian Safety Awareness Program. So we're going to be definitely talking about that. David, hello, and welcome to Crime Prevention 101.
Hi, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I think you know the company better than I do, actually. That's a pretty nice introduction you gave me there.
Yes, well, you know, we do our research around here. All right, let's talk pepper spray. Now, I said primarily the use was law enforcement. Our aim here is to show civilians what a great option this is. But how many police departments and other law enforcement agencies would you say use the Sabre pepper spray?
Well, certainly thousands. I mean, just in the United States alone, you have 40,000 law enforcement agencies. And the Sabre brand is definitely one of the most popular brands amongst law enforcement. A lot of the federal agencies, a lot of the major municipalities. You mentioned you're in New York. In New York alone, you've got the NYPD, the largest municipal police department in the country, uses our products. Rikers Island, which is famous on some of the crime networks and television shows. All of their correction officers, that's the main city jail in the city of New York, uses Sabre products, the New York State Police, and then, of course, you have federal agencies like Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Marshals, et cetera, that equip their officers with our products. So most of the major municipalities throughout the country do carry Sabre pepper sprays, and a lot of agencies, in fact, worldwide. So I'd have to say thousands of law enforcement agencies worldwide use Sabre products.
And I have to say I like it one of the best. But let's back up a little bit. Now, there are really two types of aerosol defense sprays. There's the tear gas based, and of that, Mace, which is actually a brand. People think it's actually the name of the spray, but it's a brand of that spray. Mace is one of the better-known tear gas-based, and then you've got the pepper sprays. Mm-hmm. And just to talk a little bit of what the difference is between the two of them.
Sure. He brought up a couple good points there. First, you have two categories. You have tear gas, which is either a lacrimator or an irritant, and CN tear gas, which is where the name Mace came from. It's basically a nickname for CN tear gas. That has been around since basically the late 19th century, early 1900s. It was used by law enforcement military up until about 1960, and that's a lacrimator. That causes profuse tearing of the eyes. And then
they called it tear gas, right?
Yeah, it's a form of tear gas. Then CS tear gas came about in 1960. Well, it came about long before that, but the Army did an extensive study comparing CN to CS and found out that CS acted more as an irritant, and it was found to be far more effective, more potent, but less toxic, and CS tear gas then became adopted by the Army after their Aberdeen test in the 1959-60 era, and the Army switched over to it, and a lot of law enforcement agencies switched over to it because they found that it took effect quicker, was more potent, but less toxic than CN tear gas. So those are tear gas. The two tear gas options you have, CN and CS, both typically rely upon pain to incapacitate, which can cause a problem if you have someone that's emotionally disturbed, cannot feel pain, or under the influence of a heavy amount of drugs and or alcohol. So oleoresin capsicum, our pepper sprays, came about in the 80s. They were starting to be used, but there was a big study done by the FBI in 1989, and they found out pepper sprays worked more effectively than CS or CN tear gas by themselves because pepper spray is an inflammatory, causes the capillaries of the eyes to dilate, causes the eyes to close, taking away the sight of an aggressive subject or inmate. So even if they can't feel pain, pepper sprays cause the eyes to close, taking away their vision, which gives the officer a major tactical advantage when they're trying to control and restrain an individual. And it also gives a civilian, a person trying to protect themselves, a major advantage when they can blind an attacker and escape to safety.
And it causes not just blindness, but gagging and choking and coughing. And it's kind of the equivalent of getting hit in the gut with a baseball bat. Actually.
That is true. Some of the spray patterns.
The way I've heard it described.
Yeah, I've heard also being described as being poked in the eyes with 10,000 needles. It is definitely a very unpleasant experience, and as you told me yesterday, you've actually had the experience yourself.
Indeed, I did. Yes. Well, when I went for my certification to become a pepper spray instructor, one of the things that we had to do was take a full-on hit. And I have to say that I was the only non-law enforcement person there, but because I do crime prevention and I teach defense courses, I've just felt that this was something that I should do, and my credentials allow me access, and the contacts allow me access to very high-level training. And sure enough, we took a hit. And not only did we take the hit, all of us, but after we took the hit, we had to fight off I had to fight off two attackers, and the guys that were law enforcement, they had to also handcuff and sight with a gun. So we're going to talk about levels of incapacitation, because I think it's one of the things about awareness that people need to know about this. But I don't want to get too far. I don't want to get too far ahead. That's coming up. What to expect if you do get yourself a canister, so that you're going to use it the most effectively. So now we talked about the difference between the tear gas-based sprays and the pepper sprays, and law enforcement prefers pepper. I prefer pepper for civilian use because, as you said, David, it takes fewer seconds. I think 2 to 3 seconds when it does take effect. It's quicker than the tear gas, and it lasts a little bit longer. But it should also be pointed out that neither one of them cause permanent damage. That's one of the reasons that it's popularly used by law enforcement. It will incapacitate for 30 to 45 minutes. Pepper spray is a little longer than the tear gas sometimes, but does not cause permanent damage to the assailant.
Yeah, I think all of that's absolutely right on point, and additionally, it's the fact that the inflammatory effects of pepper spray mean that it doesn't require pain to incapacitate, where CS and CN tear gas do require that. So that's a very important aspect. But don't discount, though, the combination sprays are also quite popular, where you combine pepper with CS tear gas, so you get the loss of breath sensation and the shutdown of the vision, the closing of the eyes with the pepper, and then you get the strong skin burning, facial burning with the CS tear gas. Those are also quite popular sprays.
Sure, cover all bases. And you've actually got a 3-in-1, which I love the idea of that. We're going to talk about that as well. I wanted to also let people know that there is a difference between law enforcement defense sprays and military defense sprays and civilian products. And just talk real quickly about what the difference in being the strength of them.
Well, actually, we make the civilian Sabre line of pepper sprays and tear gas combination sprays with the pepper the strongest we possibly can, actually. The reason we do that, Susan, is because for the most part, most civilians, that is their number one option to protect themselves, and in many cases it's their only option. They're not carrying an expandable baton. They are not protected by soft body armor. Which could protect them against punches, etc. They don't carry a firearm with them. Many states don't allow that. Many individuals opt not to carry one. So the pepper spray is their only force option, and many people aren't trained in hand-to-hand combat, etc. Mm-hmm. So we give them the best opportunity they can to defend themselves against an attacker by giving them the strongest spray allowed by law in the United States.
Which would be what? How much of a concentration?
Well, I mean, it does vary state by state, but we do make a formulation which is 0.67% major capsaicinoids. We call that Sabre Red USA, and that is legal for sale in all 50 states. Not to be confused with the amount of pepper in the can. Forget those high OC percentages that you see on a lot of products packaging. That's just meant to confuse you. That just tells you the amount of pepper in the formula, but peppers vary in heat. So you need to know how hot the pepper actually is in the formulation, or the total strength of the formulation. And that's measured in major capsaicinoids. That's your true strength indicator. And the maximum amount that can be used, Sabre Red USA is 0.67, and that is legal for sale in all 50 states. Now, our strongest product, that's pepper only.
David, let me interrupt you right here. Let's take a quick pause. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about exactly what is in these pepper sprays when we come back. Fasten your seatbelts. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com. There's a purpose revolution sweeping the world. Now more than ever before, in the midst of so many things they could do, people are asking what they should do. Since 1991, John Stanko has been helping people all over the world answer these questions. Now, John is bringing his purpose message and philosophy to Voice America, where you will hear from people of purpose like John, who have found what they were created to do. Join John and his guests from around the world every week on his show, Your Purpose Quest, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, right here on Voice America. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartlestone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime, How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart would stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartlestone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
Adding fractions is nothing.
For real?
Look, these are denominators. You multiply this one so that it's the same as that, then you add them up.
Man, that's easy.
Charles Bennett dreamed of returning to the old neighborhood as a teacher, but without money for college, only half of his dream came true. He's back in the old neighborhood.
Well, enough math. I gotta deliver these sandwiches.
Please support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. A message from the UNCF and the Ad Council.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spinard at 480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Welcome back to Crime Prevention 101. I'm speaking with David Nance from the SEC, and that is not the Security Exchange Commission. That's Security Equipment Corporation, the makers of the purveyors of the Sabre and Sabre Red brands of pepper spray. And don't forget to send out that tweet if you're listening. There's plenty of show left to tune in for. And at this point in time, I always like to say that if you are already a survivor of any kind of crime or something we might be talking about on the show today, if you're wishing you had pepper spray or whatever, nothing that happened to you was your fault. Even if you think that you used bad judgment in a situation and left yourself vulnerable, that is never, never, never an excuse for a crime or for violence. And there's no right or wrong responses. You know, no should-haves and I wish I did or blah, blah, blah. If you're alive, you responded correctly. Please call yourself a survivor and not a victim, and understand that with the proper professional help, you can put what happened into perspective and get on with your life. Now, David, before the break, we were talking about exactly what is pepper spray, and it is pepper. It is oleocapsicum.
Oleoresin capsicum, you got it. Yes, ma'am.
Oleoresin capsicum, which is black pepper, red pepper.
Well,
sorry.
It's actually the oil taken from red peppers. It's
red pepper.
Exactly.
And you were talking about how to pick a brand of pepper spray or a type of pepper spray that will best suit you. And you were talking, it's not the amount of pepper, but it's the Scoville heat units. It's how hot the pepper is. just in a very untechnical way, give us an idea of what you're talking about.
Okay, truly the most accurate indicator of the strength of your entire formulation, that's what you want to look at. You don't want to look at the strength of just the raw pepper, because a formulation consists of more than just the pepper itself. But you're going to look for the major capsaicinoid content. You should probably do a little bit of research before you go out and buy a pepper spray. There's several things you want to look for, actually. I'm going to go beyond just the strength of the product here. I mean, it's an unregulated industry. It's not regulated by the U.S. government for the most part. But you want to look for credibility. When you look at the package, make sure there's a company name on there. You see actually the company that's providing that product. If you ever have any issues, et cetera, you have somebody you can contact. You want to avoid products that state high percentages of oleoresin capsicum. That's just a marketing gimmick. They're taking advantage of an unregulated industry because, as Susan alluded to, it's not the amount of pepper in the formulation, because peppers vary in heat. It's the strength of the total formulation, or the strength of the peppers that are used, which is determined by Scoville heat units and, most importantly, by the major capsaicinoid content. The Saber Red USA formula I mentioned before contains 0.67% major capsaicinoids and is legal for sale in all 50 states. Some states restrict CS tear gas and CN tear gas and only allow pepper, and some states restrict the strength, New York State being one of them. The maximum strength they allow is 0.7 major capsaicinoids. Saber Red is 0.67. It's a 2% solution of 5 million Scoville heat units, which yields 0.67 major capsaicinoids. Our most popular product is Saber Red, and it's our most popular product, our strongest pepper-only product, I should say. It's most popular with law enforcement, is 1.33 major capsaicinoids, are double the strength of the Saber Red USA. Now, pepper spray for law enforcement generally varies from being as low as 0.18 all the way up to the 1.33, which is our Saber Red formula. And we make various sprays available to law enforcement, but Saber Red is the most popular because it's the strongest, and it basically gives law enforcement officers the best chance of gaining control of a violent subject or inmate without having to escalate to their baton or their firearm, et cetera, et cetera. It's been proven to be our most effective single-ingredient pepper spray. And then you have our Saber 3-in-1, the Saber Advanced formulation, which combines CS tear gas with the red pepper and an ultraviolet marking dye. And that is probably our most popular formulation sold to the civilian market because it also includes the irritating effects of the CS tear gas.
Plus, it marks the person, so you know exactly who is attacking you. I love that.
That's right. So after you escape, you call the police, you give a description, they search the general area, and they put out an identification for that individual. If they find him, the individual doesn't realize that that's on their skin. It'll actually last on their skin for up to 48 hours so they can identify him. And
I think that's a great point. We're going to pick that up also a little bit down the line into the program. But I want to back up a second. I want to make the point that the aerosol spray devices are legal in all 50 states. And the only thing is that some states have restrictions on their and regulations on their sale and their use. And I know that in New York State, you mentioned it can be pepper only. You can't have combination sprays in New York State.
That is correct.
I didn't actually know that, but I know that the pepper spray must be purchased from a New York State licensed firearm dealer or pharmacist. And I know that very well because New York State was actually the last state in the Union to pass the laws legalizing aerosol defense sprays, not just pepper, but whatever, CNCS, whatever, as well as the pepper sprays. And we fought for 14 years, and I was part of this New York State personal defense coalition of concerned citizens and people like myself who were advocates and activists in personal safety matters and fighting for laws. And it took us 14 years. I kind of came in the last 3 years, and I had to go up to Albany for 3 years in a row and testify before all these committees as to why civilians should be allowed to carry pepper spray. So it is legal now in all 50 states, but there are a couple of states where there are restrictions. So what you need to do is you need to check with the police or even the district attorney's office in your local area to find out if there are any restrictions and what they are. Some, I think in California, they used to require that you take a course on how to use it, which I think is a good idea, but not to buy it. I think you should take it once you get the canister, but it shouldn't stop you from getting the canister. And I think Wisconsin doesn't allow any UV dye in their pepper sprays. Some variations like that, but I want to make sure that everyone knows that it is legal in all 50 states. Now, let's talk about the factors to consider when purchasing this defense spray. We talked about active ingredient, the heat of the pepper spray, and you'll see it right on the package. And there on your website, give your website again, David.
Sure, it's saberred.com. That's spelled SABRERED.com, saberred.com.
Now, on that website, there was some information about pepper spray, and I think that that's fantastic. So this would be a good place to start some research off in terms of what to look for. How about canister content? What do you mean by that as being important to consider when you're decide on the pepper spray?
This is very important that Susan's bringing this up because there are hundreds of companies out there marketing pepper spray, and frankly, there's only a few companies worldwide that actually manufacture pepper spray. We're unique in the fact that we actually do our own manufacturing. Security Equipment Corporation, in addition to the 34 years experience that Susan mentioned earlier, we also are backed by ISO 9001-2000 certification. We're an environmental protection agency, EPA establishment, Health Canada establishment, and our products have been approved for use in Europe and are used in many countries worldwide, and if approved for both civilians and law enforcement. But getting to that, to answer that question regarding canister content, you want to purchase. There are a lot of keychain pepper sprays out there, and that's probably the most popular size. You want to carry a product that you're going to carry, and most people prefer to carry a compact size. So you want to purchase a compact size that gives you the most number of shots, and that's one of the things that makes Saber unique. We have most half-ounce keychain pepper sprays will empty completely after about 5 shots, or if you hold down the firing mechanism continuously, 3 to 5 seconds. Saber products contain about 25 shots, 25 quick shots, or if you hold down the canister from start to finish, they empty in about 15 seconds. So you have 3 to 5 times more content in the Saber canisters. Why that's important would be, of course, if you want to test fire the product before you use it, to get familiar with the firing mechanism and how to operate the product efficiently, and also if you have to defend yourself against more than one attacker.
Exactly. And by the way, that's one of the tips that I recommend to people. When you if you're not experienced using the pepper spray, buy 2 canisters and take one of them out into the backyard or open air somewhere and become really familiar with how to fire that canister, because you're not going to, in a time of emergency, you're not going to have to stop and read the directions to make sure you're getting it right. You want to know how to use that product as best as you possibly can. So to start off with, buy the 2 canisters. And the other thing that I always tell people, just be prepared to spray the whole canister, because it can take up to 3 minutes or to actually take effect sometimes, depending on the emotional state of the assailant, or as David, as you mentioned, whether he's on drugs or he's on alcohol, if he's seriously enraged. And like I talked about, when we did our certification course, we all fixed our mind on the fact we knew that we were going to be sprayed. So we weren't taken by surprise, and we knew we were going to have to fight through it. But we were weakened, and that's one of the strengths and limitations. That person is not necessarily going to drop down like a bug you just sprayed with Raid. He could be swinging, he could still be coming at you, or they, as you point out. but they're going to be weakened, and you have to know what to expect, and you got to have some backup. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some backup for that a little later on in the show. So we talked about active ingredients. We talked about canister content. I want to talk quickly about shelf life.
If I could, though, may we back up and I just talk a little bit about what you just mentioned for a second?
Sure.
Okay, great. Regarding the statement about may take up to 3 minutes, the reason for the delay with pepper spray, the majority of the time, is failure to reach the target acquisition area. And with any pepper spray, you really want to aim for the eyes. Your eyes are the most sensitive part of your face. Think about, you can lay in the sun all day long. Yes, you may get sunburnt, but you can lay there all day long and without significant problems. You look at the sun, your eyes tear up, you see sunspots, your eyes close. Your eyes are far more sensitive than the rest of your face. So you want to aim for the suspect's eyes, the subject's eyes, and when you do that and you get the pepper in their eyes, it closes their eyes immediately. So that's number one. And so your first shot, you may not get it directly in their eyes. Keep spraying, like Susan mentioned. Spray and move, because once you do close the subject's eyes, their forward momentum is going to take them to the area where you were last standing. So you want to spray the person in the eyes with the product and sidestep, get out of the way, and run to safety. So that's number one. Then the second thing she talked about when she was sprayed during training, yes, you can mentally, if you're a law enforcement officer or you're someone that goes through a training class, can somewhat overcome the effects of pepper spray. But realize, first and foremost, the fear of the unknown is taken away. You know you're going to be sprayed. You know what the effects are going to be. Your eyes are still closed, though. So, Susan, I would tell you this. If you are spraying an individual in that class and that individual is going to attack you, could you feel that you could have sidestepped and escaped to safety having experienced the effects of pepper spray?
Well, some situations you can, and some you can't. But let's pick that up. We're going to take a quick pause right here. I want to pick that up when we come back. So don't go away, and I've got some safety tips coming up you're not going to want to miss. Stay tuned.
Ask the experts. Call toll-free right now, 1-866-472-5787. And ask our All-Star team to answer your question. That's 1-866-472-5787.
Thank you for calling.
VoiceAmerica.com. After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartlestone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart, which stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartlestone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
In the spirit of Have Couch Will Travel, Dr. Carol Lieberman creates a haven of sanity in an increasingly insane world. Each day we are bombarded with news of events that have never crossed our wildest nightmares. Society is spiraling out of control and everyone is reeling from it. But now there's an answer. The best way to keep sane in this insane world is to tune in to Dr. Carol's Couch on Voice America. Dr. Carol, a certified media psychiatrist, will broadcast live from her Beverly Hills office every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Call or log in and get help with whatever is sending you reeling, whenever you need a soothing voice to calm and advise you. That's Dr. Carol's Couch every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on America's Voice, voiceamerica.com.
Hey, how you doing? Educational videos, top quality, right here.
You'll never hear anyone selling education on the street.
Yo, what's up, baby? Want to learn some history?
I got live learning, beautiful books inside.
And don't expect anyone to just offer you an education.
Who needs a high school diploma, huh?
And fortunately, you can't buy a diploma from some guy with a briefcase. But there is one way you can get the educational skills you and your family need for free, with free family learning programs. Call 1-877-FAMLET-1 for information on free GED, computer training classes, and other family learning programs. That's 1-877-FAMLIT-1.
Check it out, check it out. Win your GED right here, guaranteed, ma. Come on, check it out.
After all, you can't get your education on the street. Free family learning programs from the National Center for Family Literacy. The first step to a better life. Brought to you by the National Center for Family Literacy and the Ad Council.
Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it. That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Welcome back to Crime Prevention 101. Now, if you're just tuning in, I'm talking with David Nance. We're talking about pepper spray. He makes that hot Sabre red pepper that I love the best, that pepper spray. Don't forget to check out on my SusanBartlestone.com. I'm going to have my safety tips for how to use defense sprays, and you're definitely going to want that after this show. And there's an interesting book called Tactical Use of Defense Sprays by Doug Lamb. Good resource for you. I got my copy on Amazon.com, but you can also check out Paladin Press, and it's PALADIN-press.com, and they have all sorts of books on self-defense and martial arts, and they've got some pepper spray stuff there. It's another good resource for you, and also my own book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime. Don't forget that book. I've got a lot of resources in there. 20secondresponse.com. Now, let's go back, David. We were talking about an actual use, talking about some of the merits and the limitations of pepper spray. And you're right, the best target for the pepper spray is the face and the eyes particularly. You want it on the face and the eyes. And I always like to tell people also spray on the upper clothing part of the body so that the fumes will linger on there. But sure, you're absolutely correct. And I had gotten a webmail, one of those chain mail things that come around. And let's talk a little bit about tactics, because that's what you mentioned. You'd spray and run, and that's exactly what you want to do. You want to spray and get out of there, as long as even if it doesn't take effect as quickly or as fully as you would like. Because, again, we talked about a trained person may not respond, be knocked out of the ballpark right away. Someone on drugs, someone who's drunk, someone who's crazy, who's enraged may not respond the way you'd like. But this webmail, I don't know, maybe you've seen it, David. This is about if you carry pepper spray, yell, "I have pepper spray," and hold it out in front of you. And this supposed instructor said that this would be a deterrent. And I totally disagree with this, because I don't think you should warn the person, number one, that you have a defense spray or that you have a weapon of any kind. You want the element of surprise, especially if you're not trained in anything particular. You want the element of surprise. You don't want that person to know that you've got something that could incapacitate them. You're going to yell, "Stop," or "Back away," or "Leave me alone." You do want to yell. You do want to make noise. But you don't want to hold the canister out in front of you and say, "I have pepper spray." Right? And the other thing about holding it out in front, it's going to be very easy for that person to block your hand aside, push it aside, or make a grab for it and try to get the pepper spray out of your hand. So what I always recommend, you do want to create a barrier. You want a stop barrier. And that means you don't want that assailant to come within 2 arms lengths from you. If he comes within 2 arms length, he is in striking distance and your danger has increased. You want to keep the pepper spray in your hand, in your firing hand, and down and out of sight. You create the barrier with your other hand. Stop. Back off. Get out of here. If he comes within it, bring that pepper spray up right away. Coming up and under, not straight out. You don't want it to be in his eyesight. You want it to come up and under as if you were going to strike him under the chin with it and then just spray directly in his face. That's my advice. I don't know if you've probably heard this. I hope you like that advice.
I think that it's very, very good advice. I definitely like your recommendation on putting a barrier between yourself and the attacker. If you're in a parking lot and you have the ability to put a car between you and the attacker, that's going to make you that much safer. And that's the advantage of pepper spray, is that you can protect yourself from a distance. I think it's a great idea for people to take a self-defense class and learn some hand-to-hand combat. There's nothing wrong with that. If you have the time to do that, that's great. But if you can protect yourself from a distance and not have to go hands-on with an individual, with an attacker, even better. It increases your chance of escaping to safety. And these sprays, most of the keychain sprays spray 8 to 10 feet. We make sprays that fire up to 15 feet. So get some distance between yourself and the attacker. And the main reason, one of the main ways you do that, when you're exiting your car, exiting your home, exiting a restaurant, commuting to and from work or your classes, or leaving an entertainment establishment at the end of the night, a bar or a restaurant or something of that nature, have the spray in your hand. If your hand's inside a pocket or if your hand's inside your purse, but have one of your hands around that spray, ready to pull it out quickly and deploy the product immediately. And be aware of your surroundings. Look around when you're leaving your car, when you're in a parking lot ready to park your car. Know what's around you. And when you're walking, walk with a purpose. Walk, with your head up, looking around, and try to identify that attacker before they attack you so you can protect yourself at a distance.
And one of the products that I like particularly that you make is called the Jogger model. And one of the things that people always talk to me when I do my personal safety workshops, they always tell me that, well, I really like the idea of pepper spray, but I'm afraid that he will take it away from me. Again, that's why I didn't like you to actually hold it out in front of you. Well, the Jogger model, and you make it obviously for joggers, it comes with a Velcro strap. So the canister is strapped into your hand, and you can walk along with it, and it's right out there and ready. You can jog with it or whatever, and there it is, and it can't be taken out of your hand by just knocking on your hand. It's strapped to you, and I think that's a great civilian personal safety device. That's what I give to all my friends and loved ones. And they're
absolutely.
So thrilled.
I think that the attachment to the hand with the Jogger model for when you're walking and running, or just walking to and from your car is a really nice advantage. Mm-hmm. But you can also do some things as well to prevent them from taking it away from you, and that comes down to practicing your grip, being familiar with how to use a spray, distancing yourself from the attacker. And worst case scenario, if they do take the spray away from you, they're going to spray you with something that's non-lethal. It's going to temporarily incapacitate you. It's going to be unpleasant for a short period of time. But if they were to take a knife, a firearm, or a striking stick, bat, or baton, or something of that nature away from you, the effects could be far more severe and far more permanent, perhaps even lethal. So that is the one advantage of a pepper spray. If they, worst case scenario, were able to get it away from you, and frankly, if they were to spray you with it, you're going to be rather unpleasant to be around. That might be the most damage they could do because of the residual effects, the effects in the immediate area that Susan mentioned before. If you spray someone's upper torso, those effects linger, which makes it difficult for that individual to stay in that area. So the worst that may happen to you, if they are able to pull away from you, is that you're sprayed, and the effects are just temporary.
Exactly. It's, as you say, it's a lot better than getting shot with a gun or stabbed with a knife. So, again,
having nothing at all to protect you and not carrying a pepper spray for fear that it could be used against you, what options do you have to protect yourself if you are attacked then? Better to think about the situation, visualize what could happen in advance, and how are you going to prevent that from occurring. Put together a game plan, be most familiar with the product you possibly can, and be ready to use it. Chances are, if you're ready to use the product and you're thinking in condition yellow, which means you're prepared to protect yourself, you may never have to. You probably won't have to.
Exactly.
Street smarts go a long way towards safety.
Indeed. Confidence and street smart and the backup plan and a nice personal safety weapon, pretty much as good as it gets. Let's talk about some of there are different nozzles on the spray cans, on the canisters. And there's also talk a little bit about pepper foam, because if you're indoors and someone breaks into the house and you spray with a fogger spray that's going to sort of permeate the room, you're stuck there as well. And there's a product called Pepper Foam, and I actually don't know, does Sabre have a product like that?
We do, and we market it to law enforcement for uses in hospitals, courtrooms, prisoner transport, and we also market it to civilians for home defense. Exactly.
So if you're inside, you want to have a couple of canisters around the house in different rooms, especially one in the bedroom, because if someone breaks into the bedroom while you're there and you spray that person, you don't want the whole room fogged up because you'll be breathing in the effects of it as well. The pepper foam just kind of glops out on the person, and again, spraying into the face and the eyes and clog up the eyes. I like the pepper foam a lot. And I like for the out on the street, there is a wide nozzle that if you've got more than one attacker, because you don't want a stream. A stream is much easier to avoid. You want it to kind of fan out in an area and get as many people as you can if it's more than one person that's coming at you. And I know that you have information on the different kinds of nozzles as well on your website, right?
Yeah, I mean, typically, Susan, the smaller size compact pepper sprays are going to deploy a stream, and streams are very effective. We recommend spraying ear to ear across the eyes of a subject. So if you have multiple subjects, you're going to take your hand, you're going to move it right to left, horizontally, for aiming for the eye region of the subject or subjects. So if you have 2 or 3 people coming at you, start from the person furthest to your left and move the can all the way to your right while deploying it and bring it back across. So you're spraying side to side. The cone-type delivery spray, or fog, those words are used interchangeably. That produces a more shotgun-type spray pattern, which allows for it may be easier to target multiple subjects. That would be the main benefit of that. And then there might also be a greater loss of breath sensation with that spray pattern as well.
You know what, David? I don't believe it, but we're coming up on another quick pause. I've got more information about pepper spray, got safety tips coming up. Stay tuned.
Have you ever thought about having your own internet talk show? Well, if you said yes, then click About Us. Then click Be a Host to get more information. Or just call Jeff Spenard at 480-294-6417.
Say that again?
480-294-6417. VoiceAmerica.com.
Hello, we're Mike and Susan.
Hello, I'm Catherine.
We are the March of Dimes 2008 National Ambassador family. Although Catherine was born extremely premature with many challenges, today she is a healthy 5-year-old thanks to the March of Dimes.
I'm Don Germano, Senior Vice President of Kmart Stores. Kmart is proud to support March of Dimes' mission to help moms have full-term pregnancies and healthy babies. Please make a donation at any Kmart or at marchforbabies.org so that one day all babies are born healthy.
Divorce, child custody, support, and visitation, division of property, attorneys, court. Just the thought of divorce is stressful enough. Never mind the combative, destructive, and expensive process. Is there a better way? Yes, divorce mediation. On Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, host Philip Mulford, one of the country's top divorce mediators, will discuss this incredibly successful alternative. Formerly a practicing attorney, Philip will explore the myths and facts about a process that has kept his clients out of court and saved them thousands of dollars. If you aren't familiar with divorce mediation, or your lawyer has told you it's not appropriate for your case, this show is for you. After listening to Divorce Mediation, Myths and Facts, you'll tell anyone considering a divorce, go to mediation first. Divorce Mediation, changing the culture of divorce.
After more than 17 years' experience teaching safety skills to thousands of women and men, crime prevention and personal safety expert Susan Bartlestone concluded that by thinking and responding quickly, ideally within 20 seconds, potentially violent criminal encounters can be prevented. Using techniques from many different disciplines and illustrated by 60 real-life examples and success stories, Susan shows how it's done in her new book, Think Fast and Prevent a Violent Crime: How to Respond to Danger in 20 Seconds or Less. Check out www.fightsafe.com for more information. You'll also find information there on Susan's upcoming Crime Prevention 101 personal safety teleseminars. Think fast, talk fast, fight smart would stress the many opportunities you have to deter or defuse a criminal encounter and how to use your brains instead of your muscles in a fight. Look for the new book information or sign up for Susan Bartlestone's personal safety seminars at www.fightsafe.com today.
News, opinion, your voice counts. Call toll-free 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787. VoiceAmerica.com.
You're listening to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone. We invite you to share your stories, tips, or suggestions for topics you'd like us to cover, and Susan will address some of these on future shows. Send your story or idea to solutions@fightsafe.com. That email address again is solutions@fightsafe.com. Now back to Crime Prevention 101 with Susan Bartlestone.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us now, you're going to go back into my archives and listen to this show because you don't want to miss this show on pepper spray, talking with David Nance. We're talking about pepper spray. I'm going to have a lot of information on pepper spray hosted on my website, SusanBartlestone.com. I'm going to put it on my Facebook, too. There's another resource I thought you might like to know about. It's called SpyNuts.com. They have something there I thought was fantastic. It's a ladies' all-leather stun purse. If you carry a lot of cash or important documents and someone tries to steal this purse, it emits a high-voltage electric shock and an alarm, and it's very attractive, too. And they also make a stun briefcase for men. That's SpyNuts.com. All right, David, one more quick question. We'll get into a couple more tips. Pepper spray on an airplane. That's a no-no, right?
You can carry one canister, 2 ounces or less, in your checked luggage. Make sure you check it and do not attempt to bring it on board the plane or you might make the local paper the following day.
Indeed you will. That's a big no-no. And you don't have to notify them in advance that you're going to have the pepper spray in your baggage either, correct?
That's correct. But for updates, check the FAA website and specifically do a search on pepper spray. You'll find the most up-to-date information regarding that.
Excellent. All right. Any other quick remarks that you want to quick points? Now you've got these 3-in-1 products that I think are fantastic. It's got the red pepper, it's got the CS military grade tear gas, and it's got the ultraviolet marking dye. Now you've got something called athletic self-defense sprays. What is that?
Well, there are multiple categories of pepper sprays. You know, we talked about the keychain pepper sprays or the pocket models, which are basically your everyday type product that you would carry with you when you're commuting to and from work or going from class to class on a university or going to and from your home, etc. You clip it to your keychain or you carry it in your pocket, but you have it ready in hand when you're in an area that's potentially unsafe or when you're walking to and from your car. When you get to a safe area, then, disarm the product and secure it. But that's probably the most popular category. Then you also have the athletic models. You have ones that attach to bikes. We have ones that wrap around your hands when you're running or walking, so it's right there in your palm ready to go. We have the home defense category. Don't forget about that. You have to figure out how are you going to protect yourself if an intruder comes in during the middle of the night or you come home and there's an intruder. You need to be able to protect yourself and protect your home, protect your family. Then we have some other unique models such as those that are disguised as pens and other unique products to take a look at as well. But
I like that.
But you should definitely
that a lot.
Consider protecting yourself both when you're in your home and when you're away from your home. And we do make a home and away protection kit, which provides our most popular keychain and our home unit in one. That is probably one of the smarter buys, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Now, you also have dog attack deterrents, and I think we actually didn't mention this before, but initially pepper spray was used by postmen. They were the main category, I think, of civilians that were using the pepper spray, the mail carriers, to deter dog attacks, because it's very effective on dogs. And I also see here that it's good for bear attacks. Is that right?
Right. The EPA, now we mentioned the unregulated portion of the industry. If you want to spray an animal, a bear or a dog, the product has to be approved first by the EPA. And we have our Sabre dog attack deterrent, which we sell in Canada, which is approved by Health Canada. And then we have our Sabre, or Frontiersman bear attack deterrent spray, which is sold in both the U.S. and Canada, which has been approved by the EPA and Health Canada. So, I mean, tear gas is not effective on animals because they're covered by fur. They don't have the tear ducts that we have. Their skin is less sensitive than is ours. Pepper is effective, and you want to aim for the nose, the mouth, and the eyes. And all of our dog sprays and bear sprays come out in more of the fog, shotgun type spray pattern. So when an animal approaches you with their mouth open, they're going to ingest that product, and it will cause panic, fear of the unknown, and typically the animal will retreat afterwards.
Exactly right. And I hear so much about these unfortunate dog attacks. So know that it is extremely effective against dogs. I don't see many bears in New York City, except the two-legged. Well, maybe bears. I don't know. I guess bears are two-legged, but not the variety you'd find in the Canadian woods, I guess. But so I guess if you are a camper, you definitely want to. You probably know about this, but if you don't, you should. That this might be something in your arsenal as well. And I love the idea that you can clip it onto your bike. I think that's tremendous. So let's go over some safety tips. With some we talked about, some that we may not have talked about. Let's review the tips for everybody. Jump in, David, wherever you want to. Number one, carry. You got to carry it handy. If you don't get the kind where you strap on your hand, you've got to have it in your pocket so you can grab it quickly, but unobtrusively. If it's in the bottom of your bag, if it's in a back under your wallet, not going to work. Got to be able to have it handy in your hands or where you could get at it quickly.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Take advantage of surprise. If you're confronted, we're not police officers. We don't have to subdue. We have to get ourselves out of that situation as quickly as possibly. We don't have to tell them we've got the pepper spray or warn them. Why put them on guard for it? If confronted, don't alert the assailant that you have a defense spray by holding it out in front of you. Extend your empty hand, create the barrier, yell loudly for that person to back off. If he continues to approach, becomes especially within 2 arms length, spray immediately. And don't give him any warning. Number 3, aim first for the eyes and the face, and then the clothes and the upper torso, so the fumes are going to linger, right? Use the whole canister. Make sure the spray has taken effect before you try to run away. You want to get a good inkling that he's not going to just shake his head and run after you. Ask about the nozzle, the different types, and what pros and cons are for those types, and make sure that the brand you purchase comes with instructions. And you want a child-proof cap if you've got kids. And right, David, there are different safety mechanisms on these devices.
There are. You should purchase a product with a safety, and you should certainly, regardless if it has a safety or not, keep it out of the reach of children. Know where your pepper spray is. Keep it underneath your control. Don't allow your kids to get near it. And I would just like to add, those are some great points. A couple other things. The verbal commands that Susan said before are very important. Distancing yourself from the attacker. Being aware, first and foremost. You can carry a pepper spray, but if you're not aware of your surroundings, you have your iPod playing, you're carrying something, you have your keys in the hand, and you're not looking around you, the product is probably not going to be very effective. Look around, be prepared to use it, have it in hand, whether it's disguised in your pocket or your purse or you have it behind your back in a low-profile type carrying setting, be ready to use the product and be aware of your surroundings and know the product. Susan mentioned, be familiar with the spray pattern that you have. If you have a stream spray pattern that reduces wind blowback, spray ear to ear across the eyes and be familiar with how to do that, practice that. If you have a cone delivery spray towards the center of the face in an up-down fashion. If you have a foam spray pattern, be familiar with the distance and how to use foam as well. All those things are very important. Know the product that you have and do some research before you purchase the product. Buy a reputable brand. Buy a brand that's being used by police departments from a company that has experience, has been around, a company that you can get a hold of and send emails to if you have questions. Don't just go out and buy the first pepper spray that you see at a low price or that has an outrageous marketing claim like it has 15% OC. That means nothing.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of research doesn't take a long time. It's very easy to get if you got the internet. And they've got a lot of helpful information on saberred.com, so you want to check that out. Buy 2 canisters at least the first time so you can practice with one of them so you know exactly how to use it. Be prepared to take further defensive action in case the spray isn't as effective as you'd want it to be. And that means a personal safety or some kind of course like that. Well, David, my God, we have reached the end of another great show. Thank you so much. You've got something about a lot of good stuff on your website, saberred.com. There's even something about pink pepper spray for breast cancer. Go check that out. All my shows are going to be archived on SusanBartlestone.com. Go to my safety tips page for my using defensive sprays. Maybe even, David, I can get you to put it on your website so people will have it there. If you got a question for me, email me, solutions@fightsafe.com. Next week, got big news for all my loyal listeners out there, really big news, and a very special show about what a world without violence would be like from a child's perspective. You are not going to want to miss this show. I'm not going to say anything more about it, but it would be a crime not to listen. So stay tuned and stay safe.
We hope you got some useful information and inspiration this week on Crime Prevention 101. Susan Bartlestone invites you to join us again next Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time here on Voice America. Have a great weekend and a safe weekend.